Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's Fateless podcast episode. Going to be joined by three special guests today. We've got Sneaky and Odd One, and then a first-time guest on the channel, Mrs. Hilary. I'll toss it to you to go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of tell people about your channel and your favorite games or kind of whatever you want to say.
Hey, thank you so much, Brad. So, hi, everybody. My name's Hilary or Mrs. Hilary, I guess, by my handle. I've only been playing sort of computer games and gacha games for about 2.5, 3 years. So I'm very new, very fresh eyes. And so I'm really excited, obviously, to be here. My experience mostly comes from Raid. It's been playing Raid. It started as a sponsorship for a stream, and then I stuck with it for 2.5 years. Played a little bit here and there of other different games. So sort of coming in, I feel like it's, very infant in the whole process of uh, content and building games and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to kick this off.
Okay, very nice. Thank you. And Sneaky, good to see you. How you been?
Yeah, I've been good, dude. I've been good. I've been kind of waiting for the Alpha Wave 2, which is technically, I think, started as of this should go live, which has been the bane, I think, of everyone's existence after playing Alpha Wave 1, just the wait for Alpha Wave 2 and 3. So yeah, I've been good. Can't wait for today's episode.
I'm excited too because there's already going to be so many bugs changed and things fixed, and it's going to be way better in my opinion. And then Odd One, good to see you, man. I haven't talked to you for a while. How you been?
Yeah, it's been a while. Last time we talked is last time I was on the podcast because you've been busy with your stuff. I've been busy with my stuff, but yeah, it's just same as the other two. I'm just really excited for more Godforge. It's like in my head, I'm like, is it out yet? Is it global yet? Can we play more?
Heck
Yeah.
yeah. Well, by the time this episode comes out, we should be pretty close to Alpha 2.
Yeah,
So
it's
not
by the time it goes out, we should be like, I think, full blown. Actually, no, like by the time this is out, Alpha 2 should be done. If I understood correctly. So by the time this comes out, Alpha 2 is already done. So we've already been blasted to the second phase and waiting for the third one.
this only comes out 6 days after recording, though, I think.
No, they said that this one's gonna be on the 20 something.
First.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Odd One knows more about me than our podcast
I mean,
schedule. So
I know a guy. I know a guy, or I should say, I know a girl, right? I mean, I'm married to Susie at the end
yeah,
of the day,
yeah,
so
yeah. You have an advantage over me. You have the connection. Okay,
a
cool.
little bit, yeah.
Well, it's great to see all of you. Thanks for hanging out. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We've been talking a lot lately about kind of like Alpha 1, obviously, because it's the first time that everybody was able to kind of sink their teeth in on the game and play it for the first time. We did want to switch gears a little bit and maybe kind of get to some other questions that people have around maybe some of the stuff around the full version of the game and talk about events and different things revolving around heroes, being added, synergies, quality of life things. So do any of you, I'll kind of open it to the floor. Does anybody have something that was burning on their mind to discuss or bring up here or kind of kick us off?
I mean, there's one thing that's just come straight into my head, even though by the time this comes out, maybe it's already been talked too much. But the previous podcast that we watched before this, there was a massive leak about the number of heroes and about the number of bosses. So
Was that Paul?
considering
Did Paul do that?
yeah, Paul do that. It's like Paul almost never leaks, but when he does, he just blasts it. Like, yeah, there's 226 heroes and what, 13 bosses. So the fact that there's such a big number of bosses already in the works, that from my point of view sounds like something really good. Because at the end of the day, that's kind of like the bane of most games. You want to have that content to be there. You want to have things to struggle, things to fight against. And I'll give it like an example from my sort of like my feeling, because 99% time I'm extremely positive because I want the Godforce to succeed. I want it to be amazing. I love it. I'm all in. Just my experience, for example, for the alpha was I beat it in 3 days and I'm done. It's like, what else do I do? I didn't test it because there was bugs with I didn't test more because there was too many bugs with Fafnir. So that was kind of like, my only downside was like it was over too fast, right? So it's like I want to get more. Give me more content, give me more stuff to do.
Yeah, the difficult part about that topic is, someone like you, Odd One, is a very seasoned veteran of this genre. So you're gonna be able to blast through and immediately crush anything we put out. So for us to make an alpha experience for you or a player like you that lasts 2 weeks would completely destroy new players that are looking to try God Forge. They'd be like, "Whoa, this is way too crazy. I don't like this is way too hard. I don't know what's going on here." They would get to stage like 15 and quit. So that is
Yeah.
the tough part of an alpha is players like you that are veterans are going to feel like they crush it way too fast. But rest assured, as Paul leaked, there's going to be a lot more in the live game when it's not an alpha, and you will not be done in 3 days. So
Okay, that's what I hope. That's what, because like the reason why I mentioned this, honestly, it was just to like kind of like correlate this a little bit with some other games. One of the perfect examples that had massive potential to be a big competitor to the big names that we already know in the genre was King Arthur Legend Rise. Like I think most of us heard about it, and that was the thing that like I loved that game. It looked amazing, it had complexity, same as like Godforge has all the complex stuff. But the thing that killed it is they did not have enough content. And that's really important if you want to keep people in there. You need to have that content, that stuff to grab, difficulties. Because like you said, for me, as a seasoned player, I need to have something that's a little bit more difficult so it keeps me interacting. Because if I'm done and beat it, like again, the King Arthur example, I was fully free to play, beat the game in a month and a half. It's like, and then like 3 months there was nothing else. So that was kind of my frustration with that. Obviously, I did not expect a lot more from Godforge's Alpha. It was just like, me being like, I wish there was more. I wish there was more fun stuff to do.
yeah, it's and there's been a lot of games like that have hit the genre. Not only King Arthur, but like Awakened Chaos Era and Eternal Evolution. And there's been a lot of games that are like, whoa, this has potential. And then you give it 2 months and it's like, it kind of falls off a cliff. And so we're
Yeah.
definitely very cognizant of that, and we don't want to be the next one that does that. Where fun launch, and then 2 months later everybody's quitting and getting bored. But how about you two? How are you feeling about that and in general?
I pass that to Heather.
Oh, thank you. Coming in, I guess, on the other end of the spectrum, being very new, it was challenging, it was exciting. I think it's the first thing. It was really exciting to be able to sort of transcribe some of that knowledge from other games to be able to actually build composition teams and understand certain mechanics of the game. So it was really exciting for me to be able to sort of start this coming in feeling a little more of like I have a little bit more experience. So it was really fun. I only got to floor 120 literally like I think 12 hours before we shut down. Was the last floor I hit, but it was a challenge and it kept me engaged and I wanted to fix it. Like I wanted to do more every day. It was disappointing to have to log off the computer.
120 is pretty good. I forget what the exact average was, but I think that might have been above average. There was some sticking points. I remember like 142 was a big one. That stuck people because it had like a bugged wave or something, or a tough one with like Isis. I mean, Isis's passive was pretty crazy in the alpha, so it was kind of tough to beat those waves. But how about you, Sneaky?
Yeah, when I played through technically first time, I completed all 150 waves, which I was quite proud of because obviously not played these games before. Like Hilary kind of said, I enjoyed the whole experience that you had to learn these steps, and even if there were bugs on the stages, to me it was kind of fun live streaming it because it was like, how can I actually like beat this bug? And it was kind of like in the same process of like how you would almost approached a problem in game, which I thought was quite fun, and I absolutely enjoyed it. Piggybacking off though what OddOne was talking about, obviously to do with the leaks and stuff, like the one thing that I'm hoping to see from like alpha, maybe going on to beta and going into the global launch, is to do with the boss battles themselves. I talked about this on my live stream with Simon himself about how obviously there could be turn meters or a turn limit, obviously, on the bosses like Fafnir, so people can't obviously abuse bugs and go infinite. But what I thought would be more better, if you want to say just a better experience, would be if even just the bosses themselves had kind of like thresholds. So like a 33% threshold, 66% threshold, where you beat the boss or do so much damage on the boss, and then like a cinematic happens or the stage transitions, and it kind of gives that life to the fight, where it kind of is progressing and it's not just this one kind of stage, if you want to say. So I'm looking forward to see if something like that gets implemented into like the boss battles for obviously launch and for beta later down the line, because obviously in alpha it's not about trying to get it looking good, it's all about making it work at the end of the day.
I think there's already something like that, at least in the wording. Like if I remember correctly, looking at Fafnir, Fafnir has like the 2 stages. Like one's the enraged, the other one's the exhausted. So maybe that's what you're talking about when he
Yeah,
switches
exactly.
modes.
Exactly. I like the fact that like when you fight Fafnir, you do get that mode switch right near the end. But I
Mhm.
thought it'd be cool if there was something happening at the beginning. Like the Golden Golem was a good example, because you fought the Golden Golem and it just kind of went through, right? And you had to deal the bounty to get as much damage. But it'd kind of be cool if maybe like, because it is a golem, if it shifted into like a defense position, an attack position, like a bounced position, like, and it could keep shifting these different fighting formations to make you dynamically change how you have to approach it in the fight too. So I would just hoping to see more of those in the future.
Yeah, it's like different phases and stuff. I agree with you. Those are always really good. I guess a tough part of that would be if they were too radically different. Maybe players would struggle to build a team that can be successful in both. So then you'd have to build a little bit too vanilla, because you gotta be good no matter what phase is thrown at you and no matter what happens. So it might be harder to have heroes that are niche kind of shine in those situations. But it is something that we definitely discuss a lot, and we want dynamic fights, and we want them to kind of feel good as they progress and all that for sure. Yeah,
'cause
well
that's
then
the
go ahead,
Sorry.
Albon.
Yeah, because that's the type of thing that, exactly like you mentioned, that's the type of things that you want to see more towards the end game. Like the best example that comes into mind right now is Watch of Realms. One of the newer content that introduced like 6 months ago, year ago, was the Titanic Ruins. That was like the second type of the guild boss, and it has kind of like, exactly like MrSneakyy says, for 1, 2, 3 phases. When in one phase you kind of need to stun it so it reduces damage. In another phase you need to remove its buffs so it doesn't become too tanky. And then in the third phase you have to cleanse debuffs off you. But that's something, obviously, when you're limited to a certain number in your roster, it's impossible to be able to bring something like that. So yeah, for something maybe for more of the more endgame content, like the endgame PvE content, that could definitely be something that work, and that's something that would keep people engaging, of course. Like even the current bosses, and I don't remember exactly if it was Fafnir or the Treasure Golem that has that kind of like quirky passive, saying that if you have the more different archetypes you have, the less damage it takes, the less bad effects it does on you. That's already a cool thing, and that was like the first boss that we saw, and it's like already has so many things in that happening. And honestly, I believe that to be a win. Like for the fact that we just saw an alpha, that we had so many quirky things in a boss kit, which obviously being an alpha, you cannot perfectly experiment the whole teams, but pair that with the insanity, and like I keep talking about this all the time, the insanity of the way you can use your ultimate outside of your turn, plus the quirkiness of the weapons and the imprintments, it already seems like it has an insanely powerful base for theory crafting, for complexity, for everything. And we just scratched the surface from what we know of what other things are going to be added. So I definitely believe that's it's a really, really good base for a massive game.
Awesome. Nice. Well, on your topic, I know we talked a little bit about heroes, and yeah, you talked about like Paul saying 226 and all that. Our goal is kind of to hit that 200 plus threshold. You were talking about like King Arthur, and I think one of the struggles they might have experienced was, didn't they launch with like 50 heroes, something like
Yeah,
that?
so they did launch with like a 50. The kind of the thing that could have made it work for them is like, yeah, they did launch with 50, but they had the relic system where you had each hero had like 3 different relics, right? The base one and 2 other ones. And most of the times the legendaries, at least, or like, rares or above, because they didn't have epics, they had the rares and legendaries. But each relic, or like most of the relics, had completely different kits. And that felt like, okay, there's potential. But the issue was, again, like you said, when you had those 50, you beat them all. They were too generous, honestly. Like you could get everything too easy. It's like you beat it all and you get bored. And because they were so generous, that's another thing that, people, like Simon has mentioned this a million times, people want people think they want everything, they want to have it, but then they get everything, they beat it, and then they get bored, and then they want more content. So there's a reason sometimes gamers are a little bit more stingy. Like, I'm not talking about the raid extreme, like, because like Hilary can definitely, because she's been playing that a lot, she can definitely talk a bit about the excessiveness of the raid stinginess. That's, yeah, I don't think that's too good. It's like there needs to be a balance, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I was thinking too, like we're talking, so touching back just quickly on the boss forms and stuff, like the new Chimera content for Raid when it first came out, very exciting, very thrilling, because it was completely different. There's 4 forms, like, but you're so narrowed that if you don't have the perfect champs, it's just a constant struggle, constant battle, and it gets really frustrating. So I'm excited to see that come into play, but not like with a smaller champion base. So you're not sitting there trying to collect 700 plus champions to make this perfect team. You've got a smaller champion pot, which will open up more options with basic teams, and I'm really excited, I think, to see how these dungeons and bosses mechanics are going to come out.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll have a big enough roster to do that. Do all of you know about how many Raid launched with when they were new, like in 2019? One might know.
Take a guess. I could take a guess. I've never played it, so it'd be kind of funny. But I'm gonna say about 3, maybe 4 tops.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was 3. I don't remember, because I actually started, like, I think it was 6 months or a year after it launched. But I know there was a lot less limited. It was like 350, something like that they launched with.
What's your guess, Hilary?
270.
Okay. You're all pretty good. I was there from the beginning, and my recollection could be wrong, but I think it was like 305, somewhere around there. But yeah, and so, I think I know where King Arthur's head was at, is like, we can basically develop 50 heroes and be able to triple the value of the asset developments by turning them into 150, because we have 3 different relics for each.
Yeah.
I think the struggle that happens there is, when I talk about King Arthur, the abilities don't stand out. Like, I have to say also the relic. Like, oh, I say Battle Khazar. Well, do you mean which relic for Battle Khazar? Because the kits are different. And so now it kind of gets difficult to remember heroes and associate them in your head, and for the community to discuss heroes. But there is definitely a middle ground there. So, okay, we've got the heroes ironed out. The goal is 200 plus. I don't know if we'll hit Paul's exact number. But that's the goal anyway. That's out there now, is 200 plus is the goal for launch. Are there any other launch questions or features that you think are going to be a big miss if we don't improve it, from the alpha, or anything that's missing that you think we really need to get in there for live ops and the live games, or anything that kind of comes to mind?
I mean, the thing is, obviously, alpha was a lot, like, it's very limited compared to what's gonna come out. But one of the things that I kept, like, saying to Susie a lot, and one of the things that I do believe that the game should be doing, I know there's one thing like this in there, but I hope there's gonna be more. And I'm talking kind of like, in Raid Arbiter missions, or in Watcher the Volca Path, that one end goal of getting yourself a champion or a hero by doing specific quest lines, doing stuff over time in the game to get yourself a certain reward. Now, I really do hope that Godforge is gonna keep doing that. It's not just gonna be like, you have that one and then that's it. I hope it does something like the same way that, again, Raids did with Romantu and Marius missions, because those are one of the best ways, apart from obviously having content and having difficult, certain level of difficulties, but having that, that carrot at the end for people to keep following you, having those goals for people to, like, keep playing the game, keep trying to log in without forcing them to log in for hours and hours and hours and play. Because I know Godforge doesn't want to be that type of game. It wants to be like, it wants to be respectful of people's times. But still, I do believe and I do hope that Godforge is going to have those sort of, like, do, I don't know, something that you're locked behind time. Maybe first one you can get between 2 weeks and a month. You can get the first amazing epic or a legendary, but then have a different one that you need to be a bit harder content. Might take you about like 3 months, but then you get the next one, and then after another 3 months, something else opens. Or like, yeah, I don't know. There always has to be something to get people coming back, and one of those like really cool, really fun legendaries at the end as the end reward is always one of the best things that can be given from what I've experienced, right? Because Raid had it, and also Watch Your Realms had the same thing with Volca. Then they introduced another one that was like in it that was beat more difficult stuff, might take you like 6 months or whatever, but then you get this one. So it's like same with like even Lydia, like plus they added the mythical, so many other things. I really, really hope they add that, because that would be amazing for the game and player retention from my point of view.
Yeah, we definitely plan on having progress missions and different things to kind of pursue along your journey and then reward you for doing so. So yeah, there'll definitely be systems like that for sure.
Nice. Happy to hear that.
That's great. It's great feedback. And then Sneaky, you looked like you were nodding your head like you wanted to kind of jump in there.
Yeah, well, I had like 2 things that I thought. One of them was a bit more of a hot take. I know some people might not like it and that, which is fair. But a lot of people's feedback that I was seeing through, especially the alpha, were like, obviously we were going against the waves, and the waves had sometimes two mummies and stuff. And I hear the response that some people don't want the ability to have multiple Hercules in one team, and then there's another audience that wants multiple Hercules in it, which is quite interesting. And I was thinking, why not try to maybe in the launch or further down the line, maybe tailor to both, where it's like a game mode you bring in. It's just like maybe once a week, or maybe it comes like rotational every bi-week. This event comes out for 2 to 3 days, where it's kind of like the chaos, the madness of like Pandora's box, and anything is possible inside, and there's some really cool rewards. I think something like that could be cool, because again, a lot of the player base, including myself, to be honest, don't want the fact that you could run like two Musasashis or 2 Lokis or 2 Anubis and stuff. But at certain times it would be kind of cool to see what would happen if I could break the game and have multiple instances of this. So I think that would be something maybe as an event you could bring in, and it doesn't have to be a hardcore mode in the game. I just think it could be something fun that's brought in. And
I
then
really
the
think you
second
just want to
one,
troll. I think you just want to troll
Yeah.
people with 4 ISIS. You've been tortured on floor 149 of the alpha, and now you just want to troll people with 4 ISIS. That's the reality, right? That's the reason.
yeah, maybe like I'm running 4 ISIS or like
Oh,
4
God.
Isolde just to let them
Oh,
just keep
God.
hitting and mending. That would be the dream. It would
Yeah.
be the dream.
Sorry to interrupt.
It's definitely a big conversation and something that's tough to land on properly. And I thought we talked. I thought I mentioned in a recent episode how that, which I don't blame you for not seeing it or whatever. I'll give you the TLDR. But the tough part is like if we allow you to have 4 Draculas in your team, now we have to kind of water down Dracula's passive a little bit so that you can't break the game by doing that.
Yeah, I remember you saying that in one of the episodes, and I
Yeah.
get what you're saying with that, but if it's something that you bring in, right? If it's just like a one-time thing that happens a month, I don't think you need to water down anyone's kits, because everyone understands like this event that's coming into Godforge is specifically for having fun, just having a bit of wackiness in the game every so often. Like you don't have to balance everything around this one event that's supposed to be broken, if that makes sense. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
I don't know, playing like Magic the Gathering. Everyone knows like if you play Magic the Gathering, certain cube or draft formats are supposed to be broken because of the card pools inside, which is really fun. It's super fun because those cards shouldn't be playing against each other, So I think that's kind of like the concept of it, maybe.
You know what
it's
could work with this
it's a good
idea? You could this something like you're saying could be used if there's ever gonna be like which again, this is a big pitch that I hope is gonna happen. If there's gonna be like a test server, like all the other games have, where the conflict groups can do that. If you introduce the madness that you are talking about on a test server and make some crazy fun competitions, between CCs and stuff like that, I could see that being really fun. Because I obviously Godford's all about, and Fateless is all about community and stuff. So maybe that pitch would be something fun to do for, like, just random competition. Use only broken passives allowed. Only broken passives allowed.
Yeah, on the surface, I would be all for it, Sneaky. I think it's a good idea to have like a fun event. There are some considerations, like if we do that, now players are gonna feel pressured, maybe like, well, I've got this duplicate Dracula, and I would love to awaken my Dracula, but Godforge might do events where I'm gonna want 2 copies of Dracula. So now I feel like I want to save it instead of awakening. And so there could be a little bit of a soft pressure there on kind of limiting people on wanting to awaken and imprint because they want to save copies. But I do agree with you. There are ways to pull it off. We could have like a roguelite mode where it's not tied to your account and you're doing kind of like a run. So you're kind of summoning things for one specific run, and there are ways to pull it off, and we may in the future. It's definitely something we talk about a lot in terms of allowing duplicates or not, and there's going to be different ways to kind of go about it. But what do you think, Hilary?
Well, I was just thinking too, when I'd played a bit of Infinite Magic Raid, and there was one of the mechanics at one of their events was you could actually borrow a champion from someone within your, I think they were guilds at that time was the term, which I thought would be kind of cool. Like an exciting playing off of this idea is you have that 2-week event where you team up within your guild or community, and you can help each other succeed or get over a hump, whether that's a floor or even PvP, any of those exciting things. But it's very limited sort of event thing, and then keep the duplicates out, in my opinion.
That's a
no,
really
I
good
like it.
idea.
Yeah.
Because Watcher Realm has that as a permanent thing. It's just you can in Watchers, like, you cannot pick a duplicate of what you already have. But the way that Hilary says it, I think like that's a genius idea. You can pick duplicates, but like she said, make it limited. Like one weekend a month. If you're stuck somewhere, connect with your community, get your friends, get your your guild mates, give me your best stuff as co-ops, and let me pick whichever I want. I feel like that would be crazy. Just make it one weekend a month. That would be really fun.
Yeah, yeah, and we have we've thrown around ideas too. Maybe it could be fun in like PvP where you change things up. Like once a month you have a special week where okay, burns do 5x damage. So maybe you're like, oh, I don't have the meta PvP team. Oh, but I do have good burners. Like, this is my week. I can push and shake up the meta a little bit. So there's all sorts of ideas we're kind of throwing around where to try to spice things up and keep things interesting and shake up the meta. Without having to like, oh, these 2 heroes are really good in PvP. Well, let's just nerf them. You try to think of ways to kind of shake things up and keep it fresh and all that.
Yeah, I think that would be good because, from my point of view, the majority of people don't like PvP. I'm one of them myself. The reason for that is obviously most of the time there's a specific meta, or in most of these games, the PvP meta is the wallet. That's number one PvP meta. So if you cannot compete with that, that's not gonna be too fun. So if, like, I know there were already gonna be like some seasons where, like, this season, I don't know, this faction gets boosted. Like you said, like, okay, this week burns are gonna be good. That's being implemented, even if it's not like for the whole month. But I would still prefer it, like, if it was a full season of like different stuff being boosted. I feel like a lot more people will engage with it, myself included. Because again, I don't like it when it's like, oh, if you don't have these specific ones, or if you cannot compete with specific reckons, you're kind of pretty much out. However, if you always spice things up, it gets interesting, and it kind of gets, it gives everybody an opportunity to test things out. Like, I don't know, somebody has like, oh, my roster's missing the top tier ones, but this week I don't know, let's see, the Echo is boosted and I have a ton of them. Let me just go ahead and see how far I can get. And that would definitely be a big win. And I already know that's in the plans, right? The seasonal stuff with different things being
We,
boosted.
we want to, yeah, and we also want to, allow people to do like custom tournaments. Let's say you're streaming or you're doing a fun YouTube video or whatever, and you want to have like a 32-person, 16-person, whatever tournament, and kind of show the results, and then you can set your own rules. Like, hey, these top 10 meta heroes, no one can use them in my tournament, and then let's see what happens. So
Nice.
what and will that be there for launch and all that? I don't know, but it is stuff like that we do want to pull off within the Godforge game for sure.
Yeah, that does sound good. You got to think, like, especially I can imagine, like you say yourself, Brad, like you can think of so many video ideas just from that one feature alone, right? Like I can already think now, like I'm doing a rainbow tournament. You only can use one green, one blue, like all the way up. It has to be a rainbow team, right? So definitely I'd love to see something like that in the game. But I was gonna ask you guys as well, kind of piggybacking off Odd One talking about raids, like arbiter missions and stuff that can obviously complete stuff to unlock. Have you guys ever thought of maybe like adding in a hero or maybe a couple of heroes that are maybe like rares, but as you complete missions, you can evolve them into like an epic hero, and then over time evolve them into a legendary hero. So like the rarity will go up, increasing maybe the base numbers or their kit, for example. Like it could like evolve a specific hero in that lineup instead of just doing, complete this mission and get a legendary hero. Have you ever thought of doing something like that?
Well, the times that we've done that is when we're developing a hero and we're like, okay, this is way too cool. Like we just have to bump this up. This rare wasn't supposed to be this awesome. Like we're bumping it up to an epic. We currently don't have any plans to like allow you to evolve, Isolde into a legendary. That's not currently within the Godforge systems. But hey, you never know. We're always open to any idea that gets a lot of traction in the community and people think would be awesome and seems like it would be a big win. We're not against discussing it and trying to figure out. But currently, to answer your question, no plans for that.
No problem. Yeah, no, I just wondered. I always wondered about that because obviously, from my genre of games, that's kind of, I wouldn't say common, but it is becoming more common in these games where you can start a new server. There's a blue hero, then you can evolve them into an epic hero, then a legendary. So I was wondering if maybe Godforge was going to do that the same, bro. Thanks for answering. I was just wondering.
Yeah, no problem. It's a good question.
That might be something like that. That like I would not be surprised if it's going to be implemented in Godforge, because what Raid and Watcher had something similar. Pretty much, because like you said, like I've not seen too much of your content, MrSneakyy, I'm sorry. So I don't know exactly your genre, but in the Raid and Watcher, they're called kind of like permanent fusions. So pretty much you get like 4 rares that you can obviously get for easily. You can fuse those into a better epic. And then you have 4 epics that you can fuse into a legendary. So maybe something like that would be introduced. And I would really love I would really love to see something like that as well. Because, and it would be cool to always have the, a few of the key heroes of like, not the best. Because at the end of the day, it is a business. It has to be a bit, the dopamine. You gotta have something to keep chasing. That's kind of fun. But let's say, I don't know, for specific dungeon we need somebody that does good poison, or like somebody that does bleeds. Oh, Achilles is a permanent fusion. He's gonna be amazing as a bleeder. So if you fuse these rares, you can go ahead and grab Achilles and so on. Just having stuff like that is another key thing, kind of like same as the progress missions, that would constantly keep people engaged, because you would always be on the hunt. Oh, can I pull this last epic so I can fuse this legendary? Or can I pull this last rare to be able to fuse that epic? So I think eventually Godforge should and will add that, because that's definitely a cool feature. And on the note of the heroes, one thing based off of just the alpha experiences that I've seen, and I personally would like to see as a perfect kind of like start to the game. How the games first of all gives you the starter, then we got Isolde. I really hope the first 2 people that we get for free, obviously depends because there's 140 plus still need to come out. But I really hope the first 2 rares that we get in the game after the starter are gonna be Isolde and Tristan. And the reason why I say that is, from what I've seen in the alphas, they would be the perfect ones to kind of like kickstart people on game mechanics, on synergies, on pairings, because they have like the perfect, they don't have game-breaking mechanics, but they have really cool mechanics that work well together. Plus, they even have the quirky one if they're in the enemy team. So I really hope Godforge does that, because that would be really cool, and that would be, from my point of view, the best way to like implement it and show like, okay, this is what this game is about. You get this one that does healing, this one that does speed boost, this one that synergizes well because he's a defender, he gets hit, heals everyone. So, just a little bit of a side note on that, but I really hope that happens. I wanted to throw that one in.
Hey, noted, and can't confirm or deny, but
Yes, that's
he
what I
pleads
like.
the fifth. He pleads the fifth.
yeah. Go,
Sorry, I was going to say one thing for me that I think would be I would really like to see is a similar feature from Dragonair for your champions, where it's got your stat focus, like your damage dealers. You want to focus your crit rate, your crit damage. So in Dragonair, it sort of has like little thumbs up beside it, but a toggle. So someone who's starting out can kind of get that added support of, oh, okay, this is how I want to build these characters, and this is how I want to build that character. And then as they progress through, if they don't, then, oh, well, I really like this character with more intuition or whatever, they can toggle that feature off if they don't want to use it. But for people that are coming in that aren't fantastic at theory crafting, it would be a really good mechanic to sort of help them be able to better down the line build different teams and theory craft, in my opinion.
And that's a great point. I think it's a good idea. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because the
I'd
thing
be
is,
all for
not
it.
everybody watches YouTube. That's like, even though we like to believe that and we hope that, this is like maybe 5-10% max that play the games that actually watch YouTube. So those like in-game tooltips and hints and stuff like that are definitely gonna be really important. I remember there was a conversation, I'm not sure if it's still a thing or not, was a conversation a while back. Simon was mentioning the fact that they're debating of like, when you start the game, you have 3 choices of like, I'm a fully experienced player, don't give me any hints. I'm mid-experienced, I'm going to give you some hints. I'm a complete noob, walk me through everything. I know that was something being discussed. I'm not sure if it's still going to be implemented, because obviously there might be something cost a lot, but that would definitely be good, because at the end of the day, we want, right, it's like, I'm speaking as if I'm part, I don't work for Fateless, in case people wonder, but we want as many people to play the game as possible, not just from people that played the gacha genre, right? Because we all were noobs in the gacha genre at one point. So the better the game performs, the more explicit it can be for people that want it, the better and the more people we get. So I hope that's going to happen as well.
Yeah, for sure. I love it personally when games give you that choice of if you want like to be considered a beginner or a veteran. But then you have the people like me. I always just say, show me nothing, let me play. And then I'm like, okay, crap, I don't know anything now, and I should have done the tutorial. But I always try to skip it and just figure it out. But no, for sure, that's something. And hey, you never know. We might give that option at the start of the tutorial. But there's probably got to be some sort of a railroad, at least something quick, like 2 minutes. At least just to kind of walk you through. But in general, we've kind of talked about it as a team. We don't want to be one of those games where people feel like they have to have Google open on the monitor next to them. Like, okay, wait, what does this debuff do? Okay, let me Google that. Wait, what is this? Okay, like, because I know I hate it when I'm playing a game and I have to sit here with a window open, dedicated to just seeing what things do. Because games will say like, this gives you a buff to damage, and it's like, okay, is that a 5% buff? Is that a 40% buff? Like, I need to know. So now I'm sitting here looking up that ability. Okay, what percentage damage buff does it actually give me? And so, yeah, we don't want to be a game that does that to people, kind of forces them. So we want those resources in place to be able to actually learn.
I love that, because like you already showed this, that so many games have not done this, or like they have did it. It's like when you go into the, like, click the details, we already see the multipliers. We already see what it scales off. And you also have the tooltip at the bottom that explains absolutely every single thing that it does. Like, exactly like you said, Brad, there's so many games that I played that says, lands a defense 2. You have defense 1, 2, 3. Lands a defense 2 on the enemy. What does that mean? What is 2? Is it 10, 20, 30? Like, I have no idea. And the fact that, like, we already seen that in the alpha that it's explained. They could just need, it's not everywhere because it's, still has to be perfectly fitted in the game. But if you go to like, your roster and you click on the skill, just at the bottom, boom, it explains what it has. That's perfect because you need that. You need people to be able to have like you said, access to that information, because otherwise people get annoyed and they stop caring. The second people stop caring about any areas of the game, it can, just be a landslide and keep going down and down, and that's how you lose them.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I know we're kind of getting close to the ending point here, but is there any burning something I like to ask at the end? Is there any burning questions any of you wanted to get out there before we kind of wrap up? I don't want you to be like, I wanted to say this, I didn't get to it.
Is it out yet? Is Godford global yet?
Can you just let us have it?
Please.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Why not? Let's just release it today. Yeah. There we go.
Let's go.
Well,
Said so.
that's right.
I've got one for you. It was more to do with, obviously, as you always know, this is going to come out at the end of Wave 2, so this is going to be kind of more tailored towards Wave 1 experience. But is there one hero from Alpha Wave 1, Brad, that you felt didn't get enough attention from all the others? Because obviously from a lot of the content and stuff, we've done data on the most used ones and the most hard-hitting ones and all the really cool things. Was there like one hero that you expected to see more of but didn't?
That's a great question. I thought one of the more interesting heroes and fun ones would be Dracula. But the problem we found out was there's a little bit more of a that's right. The problem we found out was it takes a little bit of setup to get the kit right, and then we maybe kind of missed on the initial goals of it. So we're going to be adjusting a little bit and trying to make Dracula more of the force that he's supposed to be. So that way, it's a great question, and that would definitely be my answer. I was hoping Dracula would be one of the cooler heroes that people are excited about utilizing and having on their team. So we're gonna try to adjust him a little bit to bring him to the power that he deserves. So yeah, for sure.
He definitely needs a lot more love, because like when I got him, I was super hyped. Like, he was my most wanted, of course, because like, fun fact for people that maybe do not know, still I actually live in Transylvania. That's a region for Romania. So obviously I'm gonna try and get my great grandfather. But when I got him and I clicked details and I looked at the multipliers, I'm like, what's that? Does he even do damage? I'm like, 4% HP, and like, yeah, maybe we don't understand it. Maybe it's a bit more complex. I still played with him. I still only used him for the FAFTIR testing, but yeah, definitely, I agree with you, Brad, that he seemed underwhelming. But the good thing is, and this is something that, again, this is something that I will personally want to see once the game comes out, and it's going to be global. I want to see the company not be afraid to do buffs and nerfs. Like, because if you start from the beginning, if you rebalance, right, because sometimes something's too broken, sometimes something's too underwhelming. If you constantly do rebalances and you do that from the beginning, the community is going to know. And I know the cool thing that was mentioned about this in the past, again, I think Simon said it, is if they do decide to go that way and, consistently keep doing those rebalances, if something is an uproar, don't be silent about it, right? Like, we already know the Godforge is Fateless as a company, talks to people and is open. Something's a little bit tricky, just put out a statement. People understand. People that, haters are going to hate anyway, but people that were upset but wanted an explanation, when they get it, they'll be like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that is definitely a goal of ours. It's a good shout out. And our kind of goal with Dracula was like, okay, he places a bunch of blood everywhere, and then he soaks up that blood to infuse himself with power and completely obliterates you.
Yeah,
so
you can
kind of
feel it.
Yeah, so you kind of have
You
to
can feel
prevent
that.
that from happening. Don't let him snowball, and that's maybe why his multipliers were a little bit low, because he wasn't just like, oh, I do an AOE ability and I hit hard. He was more of like, if you let me get set up, that average multiplier is going to become insane, and you're going to get completely obliterated. But we missed it a little bit, and we're going to try to kind of make it work for sure. But any other burning questions or anything? Because if not, it's time to ask Hilary the tried and true question here of on the way out. If you do you have a certain myth or legend or whatever that you really wish was in Godforge and you think it would be an amazing hero to kind of implement into the game?
It's hard because I don't I've done a little bit of exploring, but I'd like to see sort of more I don't know, like I really like the Greek gods and goddesses, so a lot it's sticking with that sort of theory.
Do you have a
But
favorite one, even if they're already in the game?
Aphrodite,
Oh, okay.
of course.
Okay.
Of course.
And Aphrodite was insanely strong in Alpha 1. So
Oh, I know. I was so I was hoping. But then when I got Dracula, I instantly DM'd Odd One. I'm like, don't hate me. And he's like, well, you don't hate me because I am too. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
I had my like Awaken 2 or something like that, which he sent. I'm like, no, if I didn't have him, I would have been like, no, you're lucky I like you.
exactly.
Yeah, Aphrodite was so good. It was unreal.
Well, and you know, some things weren't working right, like cores and some of the ability upgrades and all that. So the gap should be shortened once we get things working right, and that's why I'm excited for Alpha 2. And when this comes out, it'll be like August 21st, and we'll know a lot. The viewer will know a lot more about how Alpha 2 is going. And by the way, if you want to jump into Discord, we will have all of that linked down below. You can give us your feedback on things like Alpha 2 and anything we discussed in this video. And Sneaky, Hilary, Odd One, it's been amazing to chat with you. We will link to all of their channels down below to check out the content that they are working on. So appreciate all of you, and we will see you soon in the next Fateless podcast episode. Cheers.